Welcome to another episode of PetrolPlaza Talks. Today, we're going to be looking at how the fuel retailing concept is changing. As part of our special, we want to look at how the business is changing and innovating. Today with us, we're going to be speaking to Jan-Harmen Akkerman, CEO of TanQyou. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
TanQyou is a fascinating case because as we look at how retailers are changing the value proposition, we see many focusing on food and multiple services, but sometimes we forget that mobility is going to be a long chain of different activities, and how they interact with each other will be the big question in the future. TanQyou is very interesting as instead of seeing other forms of mobility as competitors, they've decided to join them by creating a platform for the users to be able to move around in an easier way. Jan-Harmen, maybe our global audience is not doesn't know you very well. So maybe you could start by making a little introduction of how TanQyou came about, when you began, and how's that kind of grown since your first days, which was only around 2015, right?
Yeah, I can, Oscar. Thank you. Yeah, just like you said, we started in 2015. We don't have a fuel history from before that time. We have an IT background, and totally by accident we ran into the fuel business in 2015 by buying a plot for our first gas station. And instead of renting it to a major, we said, well, let's just build that site by ourselves. And that's where our story started. But we have to believe that mobility will change a lot in the next decade. That energy and mobility will merge more and more into one proposition. So from day one, we not only saw our gas station just as a single site, but we saw it as a part of a wider mobility proposition. And that's where we built our platform technology on.
And so today, you have around 40 stations in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, we have our own retail chain in the north of the Netherlands with around 40 sites, all unmanned sites. Okay.
And just to give the audience a bit of an overview, you then developed the moveyou platform and kind of technologies supplying company, and there's currently around 500 stations working with you, and you have around 38,000 members.
No, we're a little bit further.
Okay.
But we indeed started by developing our technology for our own proposition as the TanQyou brand. But by the end of 2019, we started delivering our services in white label form to other fuel retailers and oil brands in Western Europe. And we now have 27 brands using our technology. We've now have, I think it will be around the first 2,000 sites using our technology.
Okay, that's fascinating. I did get it from your website, so I'm sorry for that. So what kind of as a new player into the fueling sector, you came in 2015. What did you identify as those gaps where you thought, we can exploit an opportunity here? And what was it that you saw, and how did you come about exploiting those opportunities?
Well, we believe that in the next decade, a lot of things will change. We believe in the first place that our customers are more and more aware of their ecological impact, and that their travel behavior will be influenced by sustainable options in the next decades. We believe that you'll see, for example, a fast-growing EV charging market, but we also will have the shift to other energy sources or fuels. So we believe a lot of things will change. And the most strong convinced we have is that within 7 till 10 years, that the refueling proposition on itself and the charging proposition, that energy and mobility will merge more and more into one role and one proposition. So that over 7 till 10 years that you will have an energy and mobility supplier that delivers you maybe even on some kind of a subscription-based layer, that delivers you all kinds of energy and mobility. And that where a platform comes along to it, and where you in the app of the energy and mobility supplier connect your solar panels to it, you connect the wall charger in the home to it. And when you have a hybrid car and you're refueling 4 times a month, then you will do that by in-app payment, and all that transactions will be declared and split billed into one digital platform strategy.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the development of moveyou. That's, I guess that was the idea behind it. Just also for a bit of context, could you explain to us, you know, what can a customer do right now with the moveyou app? I know you have a couple of great videos on YouTube showing that, but maybe you know, give us a brief description of what kind of activities can they carry out through the platform.
Well, we're not only delivering our customers fuel, but we're offering them everything they need in their mobility needs. So with our apps and the white labeled apps we deliver to the oil brands, we unlock next to fuel, where every oil supplier is good in it for ourselves. You're able to quite easily enable EV charging, parking, but also public transport possibilities through your digital app layer. And extend, well, let's call it your old-fashioned fleet card with all forms of mobility. So users can quite a simple change from the car as the main transportation modus, also to, for example, electric last mile vehicles in the city centers. Well, employers, for example, can force their employees to on the city for their inner city traffic, to use other ways of transportation to lower their carbon expenses and their carbon footprint.
And there's been a lot of conversations, especially amongst the EV driving community, about, you know, how much of the issue of having to have 10 different apps to charge your vehicles or to try and pay. And then if you're using other ways of transport, even more so, especially if you're moving around, you know, you get to a new place and you have to download an app, which can be a bit of kind of time consuming. I guess from the perspective of moveyou and TanQyou, you believe that a more cohesive app is kind of like the way to go.
Yeah, we believe that indeed. In the next coming years, you will see that some parties will become getting a wider fulfilling role that not only delivers you that refuelment on itself, but foresees you in a broader mobility, your broader mobility needs, and even maybe in your energy needs for your power consumption, for example, at home.
You mentioned that you have an IT background, and so much of what TanQyou does and moveyou is based around data. And just before we came onto this, you were telling me about the relevance of data and how that is the fuel of the future. So can you tell us, you know, what is the role of data in today's mobility and fueling sector, and how important is it going to be going into the future?
Well, we believe that that indeed data is very important, making the next steps into the future, and we believe that in the next years it will become very important for a fuel retailer to become the owner of your existing customer relation you have with the people that now come to your forecourts. Most of the fuel retailers we speak every month are hardly know the customers they come to the forecourts. And are used the last decades that people will come anyway. And we believe that will rapidly shift into the next decade. And that's why it's important to develop a digital relationship with your customer, and to fulfill that digital needs that your customer has. And when you start by building a digital relationship, it all starts by your existing daily relation you now have, and that's all the millions of fossil transactions you now have on our forecourt. So when you pick your existing supply of the deliverance of your fossil transaction to the customer, as the main perspective, and on top of that, extend that digital customer journey with, for example, parking, charging, the shift from fossil to charging, or a broader mobility usage, then you're building a digital ecosystem where in next years, with the changing behavior of your end consumers, you can guide them through the changes the market will go through.
So has it been, I guess it was always part of the strategy, but as a retailer yourself, is having your own service of data management and technology in moveyou, how big of a benefit is that in terms of the strategy that you can apply and all the insights and knowledge that you have?
Well, by unlocking all this data you have on your forecourts, you not only have data for expanding your customer relationship on a digital matter, but you also have data that gives you insights, for example, in operational proposals for your forecourts. So when you digitize all your forecourt data to a cloud stack, it already starts by the fact that you know exactly how many transactions you have on which pump in which time frame. So if you know that every Thursday between 3 and 4 you have 40 transactions, and today it's only 4, then you can generate automatically alerts. Hey, probably there's something wrong. Your users are experiencing another convenience on this forecourt. So we always help our customers to just start by what we call then the first Lego block, to say, well, unlock the data streams you now have in your forecourts, bring them to cloud connected environments. And from there on, you can start by building apps, either our white labeled apps or build your own apps through our API connections, and then extend the customer relationships you have on it with wider services of mobility, for example.
That's fascinating. As we're talking about redefining the role of food retailing, you're based in the Netherlands, which has electric vehicles have a growing share of the market. It's growing pretty fast.
Yep.
And I know that in the moveyou platform, there's a EV charging plays a big role, and you have your eyes set on that. So can you tell us a little bit how your TanQyou and moveyou is adapting to the energy transition in that sense?
Yeah, we believe that EV will become an important stream for the next years, but it won't be the biggest stream. But we believe that servicing your customers over a variety of forms of energy will be the most important. So we invest on hydrogen. We invest a lot in the development of our EV infrastructure. And the most important aspect is that we believe that from customer perspective, there will be an urgent need to bring all that streams together. So as a customer, you just want one app, you will just want one portal where all that mobility behavior, either it's your charging transactions, or it are your fossil transactions, or it are your first hydrogen vehicles over 4 or 5 years, where all that transactions are brought together into one portal. And we also believe that there will be a big relevance for our sector, because we already do that for years. The only thing is extending our services and walk along with the needs of our customers.
I even saw on your website that actually on the moveyou app, you can also search for stations that have biofuels available, which I thought was quite interesting as well.
Yeah. One of the things is, if you have the data, then you're also able to give your customers insight in a good carbon footprint. And what we do is we call our stack a 3-layered stack. So we on one hand have the data of you as a customer, or you as a company, as a fleet owner. On the other hand, we have the data of the transactions. So we have all the transaction data from all the refuelments you make on our sites, or the charging transactions you made on the site. And the third layer is that our platform gives the possibility to directly connect your vehicle to our platform. So you have insight in your driving behavior. And based on merging that 3 layers, we are able to give you the most accurate carbon footprint on your mobility behavior. And we believe that will become way more important heading to the future, especially in Western Europe, by steering on lowering your carbon emissions. without losing convenience.
Yeah, but at the beginning you were mentioning how your perspective for the future in the industry, that the reduction of the number of steps that you have in the chain of energy supply and mobility. So we've seen that the big oil players have been very dynamic in the last couple of years, acquiring tons of smaller companies that provide charging or cloud services, basically creating this very complete value chain that will go from the grid all the way to the different mobility services, including your home. Where does that leave smaller companies like yourself? How will you be able to navigate those waters?
Well, that's exactly the gap we've filled, I think. You indeed see the big majors shifting to that all-in-one proposition. You nowadays see, well, we all see the rebranding of Total to Total Energies. We see Shell delivering gas and electricity to their consumers. We see Shell buying Emotion, merging it into the Shell recharge proposition, and now merge it into the Shell proposition. You already can manage your home charges through the Shell Recharge app. So they're already very far by integrating that all into one digital layer, one digital ecosystem. And for the small retailers, that's indeed way harder to do so. And that's where we started already 7 years ago with our needs, just for filling our own role. And by opening it up in 2019 as a white label solution, just for that, call it mid-sized brands, that white-owned retail chains, that on their own doesn't have the capability to make that huge investments in a digital layer, but merged together using the same infrastructure, we're able to at least compete with the digital transition that will come in the next years.
Well, another topic is, it won't only be this kind of like a battle between the really big players and this kind of like small dynamic players, but it's also about, who else would be competing with our industry, as we see huge players like Amazon moving in, with partnerships with car manufacturers, with their own convenience stores. We see now EV only companies like GridSurf in the UK, where they'll probably have quite a good proposal for EV charging hubs. So in that sense, what do you see?
For the next 10 years, one of the biggest competitions aspect will be on the digital layer, because not only parties like, for example, the majors or DKV are heading to the digital proposition, but also parties like Amazon or Google are quite rapidly earning their way in the market. If you see to the most cars that are now coming into the consumer market, having Android as operating system into their car, gives Google the position to steer on where you can refuel that car, and where they will head that volume to on a very short term. Yeah,
we'll definitely have to be on the lookout for that. For the TanQyou, we see obviously you have unmanned stations, and such a big part of the business of service stations now is based on food services and food convenience. Is that something you ever think of incorporating now that we see this self-checkout stores and autonomous stores? Is that anything that you'd be looking at, or would you be based solely around fueling services and mobility services?
Well, we believe that our locations will head more and more into all-in-one mobility hubs. So we see that we are merging our stations to, well, let's call it the circle around the big inner cities. So just outside the big cities, where people can make the shift of the car to last mile electric mobility vehicles, for example. For the short term, our stations all will be and will also remain to be unmanned. We believe that it will be a part of the price competition aspect, but we move them into broader mobility hubs. So yeah, that's our main philosophy over there.
Mm-hmm. Just to finish up, We talk a lot about mobility hub is a concept that gets thrown around a lot. We still don't see that many mobility hubs as well. We consider they'll be in the where we're including energy efficiency, multiple services, and multiple mobility services. How fast do you think we're going to see this change into which we'll see multiple mobility services being included at our stations, such as electric bicycles and the such? And I mean, the Netherlands is a pretty innovative country as it is, so I'm not sure if you think you'll see something happening in the Netherlands faster than in other countries.
Yeah, we see it shifting already in the Netherlands, but indeed, a digital revolution always goes faster than a revolution that needs physical assets. And when it comes to mobility, you will have a digital layer that involves the customer interaction. That will be the app of the oil retailer or the mobility supplier. You will have a layer of assets that are driving, so the cars, the buses, all the transportation modules. And you will have an infrastructure layer that will be the bus stations, the train stations, and as well mobility hubs or gas stations. And at least that second two layers that always need a little bit more time to adapt. And the ideal mobility hub needs a perfect integration of all three layers, as well the digital software platform layer and the modalities and the infrastructure. So in the Netherlands, you see a lot of pilots on that area. We are now building our own mobility hubs near Leeuwarden. It's a big capital in the north of the Netherlands. We are building wijk hubs. It's smaller hubs in smaller communities that are connected to our bigger mobility hubs. But you also see it, for example, in Italy. You see some examples around Milan with that aspect. And we believe that the digital transition will come first, that you will see that in the next 3 till 5, 6, 7 years, that you will see that more big locations will shift and adapt to transfer area mobility hub systems. And then in 10 years, it will be a format that will be quite common in our market.
Well, that was fascinating. To close off, I'd say that there's much debate around the future of our industry, and I think it is companies such as yours that provide very innovative ways of looking at it, and they see opportunity where others see only difficulties. It's been great having you here, Jan-Harmen. It's been really interesting to talk to you, and all the best.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Oscar.